Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the stars through the large window. The horizon's edge had been traveling through space for 6 months now. They were looking for new planets where humans could live. Jake loved his job. Every day brought something new to see. "Captain," called out his communications officer, Lisa Hayes. "We're getting a signal from Earth. It looks important." Jake walked over to her station. Lisa had been with his crew for 3 years. She was good at her job and never missed anything important. When she said something was important, Jake always listened. "Put it on the main screen," Jake said. The screen showed a man in a dark blue uniform. Jake recognized him right away. It was Admiral Frank Carter from Earth Command. The Admiral looked worried. Very worried. "All ships return to Earth immediately," Admiral Carter said. "We have received a message from something called the Galactic Concord. This is not a drill. Come home now." Jake felt his stomach drop. In all his years as a space captain, he had never heard Admiral Carter sound scared. Something was very wrong. "Lisa, set course for Earth. Best speed," Jake ordered. "Yes, Captain," Lisa replied. Her fingers moved quickly over her control panel. It would take them 2 weeks to reach Earth. Jake spent those weeks wondering what the Galactic Concord was. He had never heard of them before. Humans had been traveling to other planets for 300 years. They had built cities on over 200 different worlds. They had met a few alien races, but most kept to themselves. When the horizon's edge finally reached Earth, Jake could see that something big was happening. There were more ships around Earth than he had ever seen before. Military ships, cargo ships, passenger ships, all coming back to Earth. Jake landed his ship at the spaceport in New York. A military car was waiting for him. The driver took him to a big building in the center of the city. Inside, Jake found hundreds of other captains, admirals, and government officials. Everyone looked worried. President Amy Rodriguez stood at the front of the room. She was a small woman, but she had a strong voice. Next to her stood Admiral Carter and a man Jake didn't know. "Thank you all for coming," President Rodriguez said. "I know you have questions. Dr. Ben Phillips here will explain what we're dealing with." Dr. Phillips was a thin man with gray hair. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. He pressed a button, and a big screen appeared behind him. "3 days ago we received this message," Dr. Phillips said. The screen showed strange symbols that moved and changed. Then words appeared in English. "To the species known as humans," a voice said. It didn't sound human. It was cold and had no emotion. "You have expanded beyond your home system without permission. This cannot continue. The Galactic Concord has ruled this galaxy for over 5,000 years. We maintain order and peace among all species." Jake felt his hands clench into fists. Permission? Humans didn't need permission to explore space. The voice continued. "Your species shows dangerous qualities. You expand too quickly. You change too fast. You do not follow the old ways. This threatens the stability of our galaxy." The room was completely quiet. Everyone was listening to every word. "Therefore, the Galactic Concord orders all humans to leave every world except Earth within 1 standard year. Any humans found outside the Sol system after this time will be removed. This decision cannot be changed. This message will not be repeated." The screen went dark. The room stayed quiet for a long moment. "Removed?" someone called out. "What does that mean?" Dr. Phillips looked even more worried. "We think it means killed," he said quietly. The room exploded with angry voices. Captains shouted questions. Some people stood up from their chairs. President Rodriguez raised her hand for quiet. "There's more," Dr. Phillips said. "I've been studying this message for 3 days. I also looked at old records from our colonies. I found something that scares me." He pressed another button. The screen showed pictures of old ruins on different planets. "We've found these ruins on 12 different worlds," Dr. Phillips continued. "They're all from different alien species. But here's the strange part. According to our dating methods, they all died out at exactly the same time. About every 1,000 years, a whole species just disappears." Jake felt cold. "You think the Concord killed them?" "I think the Concord has been doing this for a very long time. Dr. Phillips said. When a species gets too big or too advanced, the Concord makes them go back to their home planet. If they refuse, he didn't need to finish. Everyone understood. President Rodriguez stepped forward. We have a choice to make. We can obey the conquered and abandon our colonies, or we can refuse and fight. How many ships do they have? Asked Admiral Carter. Dr. Phillips looked at his notes. Based on the signal strength in our analysis, we think they have at least 50 times more ships than we do. Their technology is also much more advanced than ours. The room went quiet again. 50-to-1 odds. And better technology. It seemed impossible. What about our people on the colonies? A woman's voice called out. Jake turned and saw Captain Carol Evans. She commanded supply runs to the outer colonies. My daughter lives on New Denver. She has 3 children there. Are we supposed to just abandon them? 8 billion people live on human colonies, President Rodriguez said. They have homes, jobs, families. Some were born there. Earth is just a name in a history book to them. Jake thought about all the colonies he had visited. New Denver with its 2 million people, the mining stations in the Kepler system, the farming communities on worlds with perfect weather, all of it built by humans who had worked and dreamed and hoped for a better life among the stars. There has to be another way, Jake said, standing up. Humans don't run from bullies. Many people nodded. Others looked scared. The deadline is in 11 months, President Rodriguez said. I'm sending messages to all colony governors. They need to know what we're facing. But the choice is theirs. We cannot force people to abandon their homes. Over the next few weeks, the responses came back from the colonies. The message was clear. Humans would not leave. Colony after colony voted to stay and fight. Even when their governors explained the odds, the people refused to run. Jake was assigned to help coordinate the defense of the outer colonies. He worked 18 hours a day, planning supply runs and defensive positions. But deep down, he knew it wasn't enough. Then the reports started coming in. Long-range sensors detected huge alien fleets moving toward human space. The Concord was coming. The first attack came without warning. Jake was in the command center on Earth when the message arrived. It was from New Denver. This is Governor Mike Torres, the message said. His voice was shaking. Alien ships have appeared in our system. They're demanding we evacuate immediately. They're giving us 6 hours. President Rodriguez grabbed the microphone. Governor Torres, do not evacuate. Hold your position. Help is coming. But everyone in the room knew help wouldn't arrive in time. New Denver was too far away. 6 hours later, they received the final message from New Denver. This is Torres. The alien ships are firing. I repeat, they are firing on the city. We're taking heavy casualties. Tell Earth we tried to hold. Tell them we didn't run. Then the signal died. 2 million people. Gone. Jake stared at the blank screen. His hands shook with anger. The Galactic Concord had just murdered 2 million humans for the crime of living on a planet that wasn't Earth. President Rodriguez stood up slowly. Her face was hard as stone. Send a message to all human colonies and ships, she said. The war has begun. Jake looked around the room. Everyone had the same expression. Anger. Determination, fear, but not surrender. Never surrender. The galaxy had made its choice. Now humanity would make theirs. Commander Rick Thompson watched the alien ships approach through his telescope. There were 12 of them, each one bigger than anything humans had ever built. They moved slowly through space toward the colony of Haven Ridge. Rick commanded the small defense force protecting the planet. He had 6 patrol ships and about 200 soldiers. The aliens probably had thousands of fighters and weapons he had never seen before. Commander, called his radio operator, Jenny Walsh. The alien ships are sending a message. Rick put on his headset. The same cold voice from the first message spoke to him. Humans of Haven Ridge Colony. You have 2 hours to evacuate this planet. Any humans remaining after that time will be eliminated. This is your only warning. Rick looked at his crew. They all stared back at him, waiting for orders. Through the window, he could see the colony below. 50,000 people lived there. They had farms, schools, and hospitals. Children played in the parks. It was a good place to live. "Jenny, open a channel to all ships in the colony," Rick said. "Channel open, Commander." Rick took a deep breath. "This is Commander Thompson to all Haven Ridge forces and colonists. The aliens want us to run. They think we'll abandon our homes because they have bigger guns. But I've got news for them. Humans don't run from bullies. We stand our ground. We fight for what's ours." He paused and looked at his crew again. They were all nodding. "I'm not ordering anyone to fight," Rick continued. "This is voluntary. Anyone who wants to evacuate can leave now. No shame in that. But anyone who stays is going to show these aliens what humans are made of." The radio crackled with responses. "This is Patrol Ship Alpha. We're staying, Commander. Beta here, ready to fight. Gamma standing by." From the colony, more voices joined in. "This is Mayor Sandra Cole. The Colony Council voted. We're not leaving. This is our home." Rick smiled. He had expected this. Humans were stubborn that way. 2 hours later, the alien attack began. The big ships stayed back and sent smaller fighters forward. Rick's patrol ships met them halfway between the planet and the alien fleet. The alien fighters were fast and had powerful weapons, but they flew in perfect formations, never changing their patterns. Rick's pilots were more creative. They split up, attacked from different angles, and used tricks the aliens didn't expect. "All ships scatter pattern Delta," Rick ordered. "Make them chase us." The human ships spread out in all directions. When the alien fighters tried to follow, they broke their perfect formation. Suddenly, they weren't working together as well. Pilot. Gary Martinez was flying Patrol Ship Beta. He dove his ship toward the planet with 3 alien fighters chasing him. At the last second, he pulled up sharply. The aliens tried to copy him, but their ships were heavier. 2 of them crashed into each other. "Nice flying, Gary," Rick said over the radio, but the aliens were learning. After losing several fighters, they changed their tactics. Instead of chasing the human ships, they started shooting at the colony below. Rick watched in horror as bright beams of energy hit the colony's outer buildings. People were dying down there. "All ships. New plan," Rick said. "We're going after the big ships." "Commander, that's suicide," Jenny said. "Our weapons can't hurt those ships." "Maybe not," Rick said. "But I have an idea. Jenny, remember the cargo hauler that crashed here last month? The one carrying mining explosives?" Jenny's eyes went wide. "You want to ram them?" "I want to deliver a package," Rick said with a grim smile. Rick flew his ship toward the crashed cargo hauler. The aliens were too busy attacking the colony to notice one small patrol ship. Rick and 2 crew members quickly loaded their ship with as many mining explosives as they could carry. "This is probably going to kill us," Rick told his crew. "Probably," Jenny agreed. "Let's do it anyway." Rick flew straight toward the largest alien ship. The alien saw him coming and started shooting. Energy beams flashed around his ship. One hit his left wing, making the ship spin. "Hold on!" Rick shouted. His ship smashed into the side of the alien vessel. The mining explosives went off all at once. The explosion was so bright it lit up the entire system. When the light faded, both ships were gone. But something amazing happened. The other alien ships stopped firing. They seemed confused, like they didn't know what to do without their command ship. The remaining human pilots took advantage. They attacked the confused alien fighters and destroyed most of them. The surviving alien ships retreated from the system. Haven Ridge was saved, but the cost was high. Commander Thompson and his crew were dead. So were many colonists and pilots. But they had done something the aliens didn't expect. They had won. News of the victory spread quickly to other human colonies. If Haven Ridge could win against impossible odds, maybe other colonies could too. On the mining world of Red Rock, Chief Engineer Helen Barnes heard about the victory. Helen had been a military engineer before she became a colony administrator. She understood war. Helen called a meeting of all the colony leaders. "The aliens expect us to fight them the same way every time," she told them. "But humans are different. We adapt. We change. We find new ways to win." Helen had been thinking about this problem for weeks. We need to prepare for a long war. The aliens will keep coming back with bigger fleets. We can't beat them in direct battles every time. What do you suggest? Asked Dr. Kim Lewis, the colony's chief medical officer. We go underground, Helen said. Literally, we build hidden bases, secret supply stores, backup communication systems. When the aliens think they've destroyed us, we pop up somewhere else and hit them again. Over the next few months, Helen's plan spread to dozens of colonies. They called it the Phoenix Protocol, because like the mythical bird, humans would rise from the ashes every time they were knocked down. Meanwhile, on the industrial planet of New Texas, Lieutenant Colonel Pete Johnson was studying captured alien technology. Pete had been a military intelligence officer before the war started. He was good at figuring out how enemy equipment worked. Look at this, Pete said to his team of engineers. He was holding a piece of alien armor. This material is incredibly strong, but it's also incredibly old. Engineer Tony Rogers examined the armor under a microscope. The manufacturing marks show this was made at least 500 years ago. Exactly, Pete said. These aliens have been using the same technology for centuries. They never innovate. They never improve. They just build the same things over and over. Pete had discovered something important. The aliens were powerful, but they were also predictable. They always attacked the same way, used the same formations, and relied on the same weapons. We can use this, Pete told his team. If they never change, we can always stay one step ahead by changing constantly. Pete started developing new tactics based on this discovery. He shared his findings with other human military leaders across the galaxy. On the farming colony of Green Valley, Captain Carol Evans was putting Pete's ideas to work. Carol commanded the colony's small defense fleet. When alien ships appeared in her system, she was ready for them, instead of meeting the aliens. In space, Carol hid her ships in the planet's atmosphere. When the aliens came close to attack the colony, Carol's ships burst out of the clouds and attacked from below. The aliens had never seen this tactic before. Their sensors were designed to look for ships in space, not hiding in a planet's air. Carol's surprise attack destroyed half the alien fleet before they knew what was happening, but Carol wasn't done. While the aliens were confused, the colonists on the ground fired hidden missile launchers. The missiles had been disguised as farm equipment and storage buildings. The remaining alien ships retreated, but they had learned something. Humans were full of surprises. Similar battles were happening across human space. Colony after colony refused to surrender. Each battle taught humans something new about their enemy. Each victory made the next battle a little easier. The aliens had expected a quick war. They thought humans would either surrender quickly or be destroyed in a few large battles. Instead, they found themselves fighting dozens of small wars across hundreds of planets. On Earth, President Rodriguez read reports from the colonies every day. The news was mixed. Some colonies had been destroyed, but many more had survived their first alien attacks. Humans were learning how to fight this war. The aliens made a mistake, President Rodriguez told her advisors. They thought they could scare us into giving up. Instead, they've made us angry, and angry humans are dangerous humans. Dr. Ben Phillips had been studying more alien messages that had been intercepted. The aliens are getting frustrated, he reported. Their messages back to their homeworlds talk about unexpected resistance and tactical adaptations by the human species. Good, said Admiral Carter. Let them be frustrated. The more frustrated they get, the more mistakes they'll make. But everyone knew this was just the beginning. The aliens would send bigger fleets and more advanced weapons. The real test was still coming. In his hidden command post on the asteroid base sanctuary, former Captain Jake Morrison was coordinating the resistance efforts. Jake had been promoted to admiral after his heroic work organizing the defense of the outer colonies. We're not just fighting for our colonies anymore, Jake told his staff. We're fighting for the right to exist in this galaxy. The aliens want to put us in a cage on Earth. We're going to show them that humans don't belong in cages. Dr. Greg Murphy crawled through the dark tunnel, his flashlight cutting through the darkness ahead. He had been exploring the underground ruins on Xerion Prime for 3 weeks now. The planet looked dead from space, but Greg knew better. Something important was hidden here. Greg was an archaeologist. Before the war started, he studied old alien civilizations. When the Galactic Concord began attacking human colonies, Greg had been trapped on Xerion Prime. Instead of trying to escape, he decided to use his time to explore the mysterious ruins he had discovered. The tunnel led to a huge underground chamber. Greg's flashlight showed walls covered with strange symbols and pictures. In the center of the room stood a large crystal device, still glowing with soft blue light after thousands of years. Incredible, Greg whispered to himself. He had found similar ruins on other worlds, but nothing this complete. Greg set up his equipment and began recording everything. The symbols were in an alien language he had never seen before. But some of the pictures were clear enough. They showed a proud civilization building great cities and exploring space. Then the pictures changed. They showed other aliens arriving. Dark ships in the sky, cities burning, people running and hiding. The final pictures showed empty worlds and dead civilizations. Greg felt his blood turn cold. This was the story of the Vraktar, one of the species the Concord claimed to have relocated 500 years ago. But these pictures told a different story. The Vraktar hadn't been relocated. They had been murdered. Greg worked for days to understand more of the symbols. Slowly, a terrible truth emerged. The crystal device was a data storage system. It contained the complete history of the Vraktar and their war against the Galactic Concord. According to the records, the Vraktar had been peaceful explorers, much like humans. They had spread across dozens of star systems, building colonies and trading with other species. Then the Concord arrived with the same demand they had made to humans: return to your home world or be destroyed. The Vraktar had also refused to leave their colonies. They had fought bravely for over 50 years. But in the end, the Concord had won through sheer numbers and superior technology. Every Vraktar world had been destroyed. Every Vraktar city had been burned. The species had been completely wiped out. But that wasn't the worst part. Greg found records of 11 other civilizations that had suffered the same fate. The Kalari, the Nexoth, the Barani. All of them had been destroyed by the Concord when they refused to accept limits on their expansion. Greg realized he was looking at evidence of genocide on a massive scale. For thousands of years, the Galactic Concord had been systematically destroying any species that showed independence and growth. Greg quickly copied all the data onto portable storage devices. This information had to reach Earth. But first, he needed to get off Xerion Prime alive. Meanwhile, Captain Nina Walsh was flying her stealth ship, the Ghost Runner, through enemy space. Nina commanded the fastest and most advanced reconnaissance ship in the human fleet. Her mission was to spy on conquered facilities and gather intelligence. Nina had grown up on a space station. She had been flying ships since she was 12 years old. There wasn't a pilot in the human fleet who could match her skills. The Ghost Runner was invisible to most sensors. It used experimental technology that bent light around the ship, making it nearly impossible to see. Nina had used this advantage to sneak into dozens of conquered star systems. Today, she was investigating a massive space station orbiting the planet Kronos. The station was 10 times larger than anything humans had built. Thousands of alien ships came and went from its docking bays. "Computer, scan the station," Nina said quietly. "Look for communication arrays and data storage systems." The ship's computer worked silently for several minutes. "Scan complete. The station appears to be a major command center. It contains the largest communication array in this sector." Nina smiled. Communication arrays meant information, and information was exactly what the human resistance needed. Nina guided her ship closer to the station. She had to be very careful. Even though her ship was nearly invisible, the aliens might detect her if she got too close to their sensors. Using her ship's advanced systems, Nina began intercepting alien communications. Most of the messages were routine military reports. But then she found something that made her heart race. It was a detailed plan for something called Final Solution Protocol. According to the intercepted files, the Concorde was planning to destroy Earth itself in just 3 months. They had decided that humans were too dangerous to be allowed to exist anywhere in the galaxy. Nina quickly copied all the files she could find. She had to get this information back to Earth immediately. But as she prepared to leave, alarms started blaring throughout the alien station. "Unknown vessel detected," an alien voice announced. "All security ships report to Sector 7, immediately." Nina's invisibility system had failed. Somehow the aliens had spotted her ship. "Computer emergency acceleration," Nina ordered. "Get us out of here." The Ghost Runner shot away from the station at maximum speed. Behind her, Nina could see dozens of alien fighters launching from the station's bays. Their ships were faster than most human vessels, but Nina had spent years learning every trick of high-speed flying. She dove toward the planet Kronos, using its gravity to increase her speed. The alien fighters followed, firing energy weapons that lit up space around her ship. Nina rolled and twisted through their attacks, avoiding the deadly beams by inches. As she reached the planet's atmosphere, Nina had an idea. She aimed her ship directly at the planet's surface as if she was going to crash. The alien fighters followed her down, thinking they had her trapped. At the last possible second, Nina fired her ship's emergency boosters and pulled up sharply. Her ship skimmed just above the planet's surface, so low that rocks and dust were thrown up by her engines. The alien fighters weren't expecting this maneuver. 3 of them crashed into the planet's surface. The others pulled up, but they had lost sight of Nina's ship in the dust cloud. Nina used the confusion to escape the planet's gravity and jump to hyperspace. She was hurt and her ship was damaged, but she had the most important intelligence of the war. On Luna Base, engineer Tom Russell was working on humanity's most secret project. Tom had been studying captured alien technology for months. He was trying to understand how their ships could move so fast and hit so hard. Tom had discovered that alien ships used something called phase shift technology. They could move in and out of normal space, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. But the aliens only used this technology for faster-than-light travel. Tom had a different idea. What if humans could use phase shift technology during combat? A ship that could appear and disappear during battle would be almost impossible to hit. Working with a team of the best human engineers, Tom built the first prototype phase shift fighter. It was small, fast, and completely experimental. The first test flight had a 50% chance of exploding. "Are you sure about this?" asked test pilot Sarah Kim as she climbed into the cockpit. "No," Tom admitted, "but if it works, it could change everything." Sarah activated the phase shift drive. For a moment, nothing happened. Then suddenly, her ship vanished completely. On the radar screens, it appeared as if her ship had simply stopped existing. "Sarah, do you copy?" Tom called over the radio. "I'm here," Sarah's voice came back. "But I can't see anything outside. It's like I'm in a different dimension." "Try shifting back to normal space," Tom instructed. Sarah's ship reappeared exactly where it had vanished. She was grinning as she climbed out of the cockpit. "That was incredible," she said. "I was completely invisible. Their sensors couldn't track me at all." Tom realized they had just created the first weapon that could match alien technology. But they needed more time to build enough of these ships to make a difference. When Dr. Murphy's data reached Earth, it caused panic among the human leadership. When Captain Walsh's intelligence arrived, showing the plan to destroy Earth, that panic turned to grim determination. Admiral Jake Morrison called an emergency meeting of all human commanders. The meeting was held in a hidden base inside an asteroid belt, far from any Concorde patrol. "The situation is worse than we thought," Jake told the assembled officers. "The aliens aren't just trying to relocate us. They want to wipe us out completely, just like they did to 12 other species." He activated a holographic display showing Dr. Murphy's archaeological evidence. Pictures of dead civilizations filled the room. "The Vraktar fought for 50 years, Jake continued. "The Kalari lasted 30 years. All of them were eventually destroyed, but they were fighting alone. We're different. We have something they didn't have." "What's that?" asked Colonel Martinez. "Each other," Jake said. Every human colony that survives makes all the others stronger. Every new weapon we develop gets shared with everyone. Every battle we win teaches us something that helps the next battle. Jake activated another display, this one showing Tom Russell's phase shift technology. In 3 months, they plan to attack Earth with the largest fleet in their history. But in 3 months, we'll be ready for them. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten the human race. The room erupted in determined voices. Officers from dozens of colonies pledged their ships and soldiers to the defense of Earth. Admiral Steve Parker stood in the command center of Sanctuary Base, watching the tactical display that showed the entire galaxy. Red dots marked conquered fleet positions. Blue dots showed human colonies and ships. The red dots were moving toward one target, Earth. Steve had been a security chief on Mars before the war started. He was good at organizing defenses and coordinating multiple teams. When the Resistance needed a leader, the other admirals had chosen him. "How many ships are they bringing?" Steve asked his intelligence officer, Captain Lisa Brooks. "Our scouts count over 3,000 conquered vessels," Lisa replied. "It's the largest fleet they've ever assembled." Steve nodded grimly. Humanity had maybe 400 ships total, and most of those were small patrol boats and converted cargo haulers. The odds were worse than 8 to 1. "What about our new phase shift fighters?" Steve asked. "Tom Russell's team has built 60 of them," Lisa said. "They're being distributed to our best pilots now. 60 fighters against 3,000 ships." It didn't seem like enough. But Steve had learned something important during this war. Humans were always at their best when things looked impossible. "Send word to all colonies," Steve ordered. "Operation Prometheus Unbound begins in 72 hours. Prometheus Unbound was humanity's plan to strike back. Instead of just defending Earth, they would attack the Concord's most important stronghold, Nexus Prime. It was a massive planet covered in factories, shipyards, and command centers. If they could damage it badly enough, it might force the Concord to recall some ships from the Earth attack. Captain Mary Lewis was one of the pilots chosen to fly the new phase shift fighters. Mary had been flying combat missions for 6 months. She had shot down 12 alien fighters and survived 3 major battles. Her squadron called her Ghost because she always seemed to appear and disappear when the enemy least expected it. Mary's new ship looked different from normal human fighters. It was sleeker with strange glowing panels along its hull. The cockpit was smaller, and the controls were more complex than anything she had flown before. "Remember," Tom Russell told her, during the briefing, "the phase shift drive is experimental. Don't stay in phase space for more than 30 seconds at a time. Longer than that and you might not be able to get back." Mary nodded. She understood the risks. Every pilot flying these missions understood they might not come home. The attack on Nexus Prime began at exactly midnight, Galactic Standard Time. Mary's squadron approached the planet from its dark side, hidden from most sensors. Below them, they could see the lights of 1,000 alien cities. "Ghost Squadron, this is Ghost Leader," Mary said into her radio. "Target the shipyards first. Remember, hit and fade. Don't get caught in a prolonged fight." Mary activated her phase shift drive. The universe around her changed. Colors became strange and twisted. Sound disappeared completely. She was in a different dimension, invisible to the aliens below. She guided her ship toward the largest shipyard on the planet. Even in phase space, she could see the massive alien ships being built there. Each one was larger than a human city. Mary shifted back to normal space directly above the shipyard. Before the aliens could react, she fired every missile her ship carried. The explosions lit up the night sky as half-finished alien ships crumbled and burned. Then she shifted back to phase space and moved to her next target. All around the planet, other human pilots were doing the same thing. They would appear suddenly, attack something important, then vanish before the aliens could fight back. It was like fighting ghosts. The aliens tried to respond, but their targeting systems couldn't lock onto ships that kept disappearing. Their powerful weapons were useless against enemies they couldn't see. But the humans were learning something disturbing as they flew deeper into the planet. This wasn't just a military base. There were research facilities here, and some of them contained things that made Mary's blood run cold. She flew over a complex that held thousands of alien prisoners, not conquered aliens but members of other species. They were being used for experiments, their technology stolen, and their people enslaved. Ghost leader to Ghost Squadron, Mary radioed. We're not just fighting for humanity. There are other prisoners, down there. Other species the conquered is torturing. This made the pilots even more determined. They weren't just fighting for human colonies anymore. They were fighting for every species that had ever opposed the conquered's rule. While the space battle raged above, Dr. Kim Taylor was leading a ground team toward the planet's most important target. Kim was a scientist, but she had volunteered for this dangerous mission because she understood something the others didn't. Using information from Dr. Murphy's archaeological discoveries, Kim had figured out that Nexus Prime contained the source of the Conquered's power. Deep beneath the planet's surface was an ancient device that gave the aliens their advanced technology. Kim's team consisted of 12 Special Forces soldiers and herself. They had landed on the planet using a new type of stealth transport that could phase shift like the fighters. The device should be directly below us, Kim told the team leader, Sergeant Bill Turner. According to the Vraktar records, it's in a chamber about 2 miles down. Sergeant Turner was a tough soldier who had fought in 15 major battles during the war. He didn't understand the science, but he trusted Dr. Taylor's intelligence. How do we get down there? Turner asked. The aliens built access tunnels, Kim explained, but they'll be heavily guarded. Turner smiled grimly. Doc, my team specializes in getting past guards. The journey down took 4 hours. They had to fight their way through multiple security checkpoints. The aliens had never expected anyone to attack this deep inside their most protected facility. Finally, they reached the chamber Kim had described. It was enormous, larger than a football stadium. In the center stood a device that hummed with incredible energy. It looked like a giant crystal surrounded by metal rings that spun slowly in the air. That's it, Kim whispered. That's what's been giving them their power for thousands of years. But as they approached the device, Kim made a terrible discovery. According to her readings, the device was protected by a security system that would kill anyone who tried to damage it. The only way to shut it down safely was for someone to stay behind and manually override the system. How long would that take? Turner asked. About 10 minutes, Kim said quietly. But the person doing it wouldn't be able to escape. The shutdown process requires constant attention, and the chamber will be flooded with deadly radiation. Turner looked at his team. They were good soldiers, but this was bigger than any of them had expected. I'll do it, said a voice behind them. They turned to see Commander Laura Scott, the leader of the ground assault team. Laura had been a ship captain before the war. She had lost her ship and most of her crew in one of the first battles against the Concorde. Laura, you don't have to, Kim said. Yes, I do, Laura replied. I've been fighting this war for 2 years. I've seen what these aliens do to civilizations that oppose them. If my staying behind can stop them, then that's what I'm going to do. Laura walked toward the device. Besides, she said with a sad smile, someone needs to make sure you all get out of here safely. Kim quickly explained how to operate the shutdown sequence. Laura memorized every step. When I start the process, you'll have about 5 minutes to get to minimum safe distance, Laura said. The explosion will be visible from orbit. Turner and his team reluctantly began their retreat. Kim was the last to leave. Tell them what we found here, Laura said to her. Tell them the truth about where the Concorde's power comes from. Make sure the galaxy knows these aliens are thieves and murderers. Kim nodded, tears in her eyes. We'll tell them. The whole galaxy will know. Laura waited until the others were gone, then began the shutdown sequence. Her hands moved carefully over the ancient controls. She could feel the device's power beginning to fluctuate. This is Commander Scott to Ghost Squadron, she radioed. I'm beginning the shutdown. You have 5 minutes to clear the area. Above, the planet Captain Mary Lewis received the message. All ships emergency retreat. Get to minimum safe distance immediately. The human ships began pulling back from Nexus Prime. Behind them, the alien defenders were still trying to figure out what was happening. Laura continued working at the controls. The device was fighting her, its security systems trying to prevent the shutdown. But Laura had studied Kim's instructions carefully. She knew exactly what to do. 2 minutes remaining, Laura announced over the radio. The device began to shake violently. Cracks appeared in the crystal at its center. The metal rings spun faster and faster. 30 seconds, Laura said. She could feel the radiation beginning to affect her body. Her vision was starting to blur, but she held on to the controls. "Tell Earth we didn't run," Laura said into the radio. "Tell them we fought to the end." The device exploded. The blast was so powerful it could be seen from 3 star systems away. The explosion tore through Nexus Prime's crust, creating earthquakes that destroyed cities across the planet. But more importantly, the device's destruction sent a shockwave across the galaxy. Every conquered ship suddenly lost power. Their advanced weapons stopped working, their shields failed, their engines died. For the first time in thousands of years, the Galactic Concord was vulnerable. 6 months had passed since the destruction of Nexus Prime. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Defiant Hope, looking out at the strangest sight he had ever seen. Floating in space around his ship were vessels from dozens of different alien species. They had all come to join humanity's growing alliance. The galaxy looked very different now. When the ancient device was destroyed, the Concord's empire had collapsed almost overnight. Without their stolen technology, the aliens who had ruled for thousands of years were suddenly just another species with basic ships and weapons. Many of the Concord's member species had immediately declared independence. Some had joined humanity's new alliance. Others had simply returned to their homeworlds, wanting nothing more to do with galactic politics. "Admiral," called his communications officer, Lieutenant Roy Adams, "we're receiving a message from the Kalari delegation." Jake smiled. The Kalari were one of the species that Dr. Murphy had found evidence about. They had been thought extinct for 800 years. But when the Concord's power failed, small groups of Kalari survivors had emerged from hidden colonies where they had been hiding for centuries. "Put them on screen," Jake said. The image showed a tall, thin alien with silver skin and large blue eyes. When she spoke, her voice was translated by the ship's computer. "Admiral Morrison," she said. "I am Commander Veltar of the Kalari Remnant Fleet. We have completed our survey of the Rigel sector. We found 3 more survivor colonies, including some Vraktar." Jake felt a surge of hope. Every week they were finding more survivors from species the Conquered had supposedly exterminated. It turned out the Conquered wasn't as thorough as they had claimed. Many species had small populations that had managed to hide and survive. "That's excellent news, Commander," Jake replied. "How many survivors in total?" "Approximately 50,000 across all 3 colonies," Veltar said. "They are eager to join our alliance." The alliance had been President Rodriguez's idea. Instead of ruling the galaxy like the Concord had, humanity offered partnership to any species that wanted to join. There were no forced relocations, no limits on expansion, and no single ruling species, Admiral, another voice called. Jake turned to see Dr. Kim Taylor approaching. Kim had survived the mission to Nexus Prime and was now humanity's chief science advisor for alien technology. "What have you found, Dr. Taylor?" Jake asked. Kim looked excited. "We've finished analyzing the data from the destroyed device. You're not going to believe this, but that machine wasn't originally built by the Conquered. They stole it from the first civilization they conquered over 10 million years ago." Jake raised his eyebrows. 10 million years? "The original builders were called the Architects," Kim continued. "They created the device to help different species share technology and knowledge peacefully. The Conquered perverted it, using it to steal technology from other civilizations." "Is there any way to rebuild it properly?" Jake asked. "Actually, yes," Kim said with a smile. "Tom Russell thinks we can create a new version that works the way it was originally intended. Instead of stealing technology, it would help all species develop and share their discoveries." On Earth, President Rodriguez was addressing a joint session of the new Galactic Federation. Representatives from over 40 species sat in the assembly hall, discussing plans for the future. "The old galaxy was built on fear," President Rodriguez said. "Fear of change, Fear of growth, fear of new ideas. The Concord maintained their power by keeping other species small and weak. She gestured to the diverse group of aliens in the audience. But we're building something different. A galaxy where every species can grow and explore and discover new things. Where diversity makes us stronger, not weaker. In the audience, a representative from the Barani species stood up. The Barani looked like tall, furry creatures with 6 arms and green eyes. "What about species that don't want to join your federation?" she asked. "Will you force them to participate?" "Absolutely not," President Rodriguez replied. "Any species that wants to remain isolated has that right. The Federation will protect their borders and respect their choices. We're not trying to rule the galaxy, we're trying to free it." This answer satisfied many of the representatives. The biggest fear among the alien species was that humans would simply become the new Concord. But humanity kept proving that they were different. Meanwhile, engineer Tom Russell was working in his laboratory on Luna Base. The project he was building would change space travel forever. Using the principles from the destroyed device, Tom was creating ships that could travel between distant parts of the galaxy instantly. "The test results look good," Tom told his assistant, engineer Sally Woods. "This new drive system can move a ship from one side of the galaxy to the other in just a few hours." Sally checked the readings on her instruments. "What about safety? The old device was dangerous." "This one is completely different," Tom explained. "Instead of stealing energy from other sources, it generates its own power, and it includes multiple safety systems to prevent misuse." Tom's new ships would make it possible for the Federation to stay connected across vast distances. Instead of taking months to travel between star systems, messages and supplies could be delivered in days. On the rebuilt colony of New Denver, life was slowly returning to normal. The city had been destroyed in the first Concord attack, but the colonists had rebuilt it to be better than before. Mayor Sandra Cole walked through the new downtown area, watching children play in parks that hadn't existed 6 months ago. "It's amazing how quickly things can change," Sandra said to her assistant. "Deputy Mayor Frank Wilson, the people here are tough," Frank replied. "They've been through hell, but they didn't give up." Sandra nodded. New Denver had become a symbol of human determination. The colonists could have moved to safer worlds, but they had chosen to rebuild their home exactly where it had been destroyed. Dr. Ben Phillips was establishing his new Xenological Institute in the rebuilt city. The institute's mission was to preserve the history of all the extinct civilizations and make sure such genocides never happened again. "We've recovered data from over 30 different species," Ben told Sandra during a tour of the facility. Each one had their own culture, their own achievements, their own dreams. The Concord destroyed all of it. "But we're bringing some of it back," Sandra pointed out. "The survivors you found are teaching us about their ancestors." "True," Ben agreed. "And we're making sure their stories are never forgotten. Future generations will know what happened here." Admiral Jake Morrison was preparing for humanity's most ambitious expedition yet. The Defiant Hope and a fleet of 20 ships were about to explore the Galactic core, a region that had been forbidden to all species except the Concord for thousands of years. "Are you sure this is wise?" asked Captain Nina Walsh, who was commanding one of the escort ships. "We don't know what we'll find there." "That's exactly why we need to go," Jake replied. "The Concord kept that region secret for a reason. Whatever's there, the galaxy deserves to know about it." The fleet included ships from 8 different species. Humans, Kalari, Vraktar, Barani, and others worked together as equals. It was the first truly integrated space fleet in galactic history. As they approached the galactic core, their sensors detected something incredible. Thousands of ancient structures orbited the central black hole. They were clearly artificial, but they were older than any civilization in recorded history. "Admiral," called the science officer, Dr. Alan Price. "These structures are over 50 million years old. They predate every known civilization in the galaxy." Jake stared at the readings. "What are they?" "I think they're archives," Dr. Price said with excitement. "Libraries containing the complete history of the galaxy. The real history, not the version the Concord told everyone. The exploration of the galactic core would take years, But already they were finding evidence of hundreds of ancient civilizations, technologies beyond anything currently known, and proof that the galaxy had once been a place of incredible diversity and cooperation. Back on Earth, President Rodriguez received daily reports from the expedition. Each discovery reinforced her belief that they were building something truly special. The old galaxy was ruled by fear and control, she told her cabinet. But we're creating a galaxy ruled by curiosity and cooperation. Tom Russell's new transportation network was connecting distant worlds like never before. Trade flourished between species that had never met before. Scientific discoveries were shared instantly across thousands of light years. The Galactic Federation grew stronger every month. New species joined regularly, attracted by the promise of freedom and cooperation. Even some former conquered species requested membership, wanting to be part of something better than what they had lost. Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of the Defiant Hope, watching a spectacular sight. A massive space station was under construction near the galactic core. It would serve as the Federation's new capital, a neutral location where all species could meet as equals. The station was being built using techniques from dozens of different civilizations. Human engineering worked alongside Kalari art, Vraktar technology, and Barani environmental systems. It was becoming something more beautiful than any single species could have created alone.